I'm continuing the videos, in this case, on how to shape children's character. We talked about in the past the whys, what is character development, but when we got to the topic of how, we talked first about teaching the language that surrounds children. Secondly, is the practices, because these are habits that you want to form. So there's got to be a way that you practice self-discipline and you practice compassion till it becomes your habit. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about culture, the impact that culture has. So culture kind of represents an entire way of life that a community or a small group or a family, they hold to be true. You could call it their mission, it's their belief system, it's their aspirations. And within that culture, within that community, there's a language they speak, there's practices that they hold, there's customs, there's traditions, and you put it all together. And then if somebody is in that culture, they sort of spontaneously and almost subtly are shaped in the form of what's in that culture. And they end up having the same types of aspirations and beliefs and hopefully eventually behavior. You know, for example, in a family, a while back, I knew a family that absolutely loved music. Mom and dad were dedicated to music. They wanted their children to become musicians. So music filled the home. There was always some classical music playing or some discussion around the dinner table about music. The children had not just one instrument, but two, and later three, and they practiced. Mom and dad were with them. They helped discipline them to stay with their practicing. And eventually, guess what? The children became decent musicians, but primarily that was a part of their life. They loved music and they loved to be involved with music. Well, that was a culture. I've known families that had athletic culture. Mom and dad, again, were athletes at various levels, but that was important to them. To have the children out and active and joining a soccer team or a basketball team, eating well. That became a whole culture. And then, of course, what happened? The children became good athletes, or at least they enjoyed it. That was a part of the family culture. So the culture is really put in place by a number of things. Schools are the same way, and that's what I'm going to talk about here, but it applies to home. One more example, I knew a family that they were dedicated to academics. They just determined that was the pathway of success for life, is to get an academic education as high and as far as you could possibly go. So again, you can imagine the home was set up so children could do their homework. They read together. They talked about books together. They talked about opportunities for schooling, opportunities for summer academics. That was the culture. It was filled with that. So it had practices and traditions and customs and language, all which formulated the kind of family they hoped for and how they hoped their children would turn out, to have the same types of beliefs and aspirations. Now, in establishing a culture, this is important. There's two parts to it. And by the way, we do this at school. We think about it very carefully. Number one are the outward things. Again, the types of things we're going to practice as a family or as a school. You know, at Birchwood, we have a homework policy and we have a work ethic policy and we have high standards. Those are all the outward things. And we have signature programs. You can participate in science competitions and math competitions. These have become traditions. They've become customs. The children look forward to them, even in the younger grades, because they know someday I'll do History Day. Someday I'll do Power of the Pen. These are the external things. They're lessons we give in the morning about character and working hard and not quitting, persevering, about how to care for people, have a heart that wants to serve and benefit other people. So there's teachings involved. It's a comprehensive environment, and that produces a certain kind of culture. Those are the outward things. Now, the inward things are the adults who themselves dedicate to the beliefs and aspirations of that community. So lo and behold, at Birchwood and in your own family, you've got to check what are you for? What is within your heart? So we do encourage the adults. Make sure you've got goals in life. They could be academic, they could be athletic, they could be oriented toward hobbies, but you're headed somewhere. And why do you need to be headed somewhere? Because that helps create an environment where all the children, when you talk to them about goal setting, they feel the same way. Oh, yeah, I've set this goal and I've set that goal. And as an adult, you have to make up your mind, how can I bless the people around me? How do I treat them well? And in cases where I don't get along well with somebody, how do I make it better? It's deliberate. The adults in a culture are deliberately growing in a way that's commensurate, that goes alongside the beliefs and aspirations of the community. Then what do you get? You get this sort of invisible energy that is always nudging the children toward, in our case, growing, thriving, doing better, treating people well. The children will be at all different levels, just like in your family. If you aspire to athletics, or you aspire to academics, or you aspire to music, to the degree a child will become a good violinist, it also is involved with their natural propensities and talents. But nevertheless, they will grow in that area. So when we try to build a culture, for example, at Birchwood, we're trying to cultivate those attitudes about growth, those attitudes about finding purpose, those attitudes about self-discipline and working hard, the attitudes about treating other people well and considering how to benefit other people. That, as the adults practice this, and this is a big part of our professional development, as the adults grow in these areas and they persevere in these areas, they are models of the type of living and the way of life that permeates the atmosphere. So if I'm setting goals for myself, even I'm an old man, still got to think about, how do I better benefit people around me? And how do I grow in my profession or in the things that my responsibilities around my home? That's still a part of my job. If I want to be a part of a culture that helps children develop those kinds of attitudes toward life, I need to grow. And then among the adults, there's a creation of this invisible energy that moves children and makes them to desire the same types of things that the mission and the aspirations of the community are aiming for. And in this way, not only we have teaching, not only we have training, but a comprehensive culture. And we think about it carefully, how to go about that. Maybe at another video, I'll explain how you've got to go through all the things that have to be involved to create a family culture or a school culture. So to a great extent, the children are on the pathway of the mission, the aspirations of the community, the group, the family. Yeah, I hope this has helped you. Thank you.